Women educators are natural givers, pouring into their students, their families, and communities. But what about pouring into you? This is the Educator Sanctuary, where we help you ditch the guilt and unapologetically put yourself at the top of your list. I'm Dr. Leah, educator, mindset coach, and your guide to creating a life where you align with your purpose and reclaim your power. So if you're ready to set boundaries and step fully into the woman you're meant to be, you're definitely in the right place. Let's get into it.
Hey, and welcome back to the Educator Sanctuary, where we have big conversations, mindset shifts, personal growth, and all the things that help us live more intentionally. Whether you are a mom, a teacher, a community leader, or just a woman holding space for others, this show is for you. I want to start off this show by saying I know that there are women who are out there and praying for something to happen. You're waiting for a breakthrough to happen. You have things that you are believing for. And every single day you're getting up and you're hoping and you're wishing that today is the day that you get the breakthrough. But then you end the day saying, God, when is it coming? How much longer do I have to go through this? You have seen the signs, you have gotten the confirmation, you have journaled, you have prayed, you have fasted, you have done all of the work, but it feels like nothing is moving. In fact, it actually feels like everything is going wrong. It actually feels like you couldn't be further away from your goals. I understand that people are falling out of your lives. You might feel like doors are closing and you're like, I thought I was doing all the right things, but I'm still not closer. God, when? God, what? God, how? If you are in that weird space, I call it the messy middle, where you're waiting and you're questioning and you're holding on to life by a thread. This episode is for you. I have been there. Sometimes I still feel like I'm there. But what I do know is that if God gave you a vision and he gave you a promise, it is still very much real. But here's what I also learned while I have lived through the same things. Before God gives you a promise, he gives you a process. And let's just be honest, most of us, we don't want that part. We want the confirmation. We want the blessing. We want the answered prayer, but not the process that prepares us to carry the blessing. We want the weight loss without giving up our favorite foods. We want to be the number one winner without putting in much effort. We want the 6 or 7 figure business with the short, fast method. We don't want to do the work. We just want the blessing. We're tired of doing the work. We just want the blessing. Unfortunately, it's probably not going to happen that way. There's literally no shortcut to success. We have to be able to do the work. So, as you all know, I always share a very transparent story. Last year, I sold my home. And when I sold my home, I absolutely did not have any clue where I was going. I had packed up my entire life, painted up the house. I put everything in boxes. I sold everything that I knew that I didn't want to take with me. I signed the papers. I sold the home. I got in my car and I drove away without a known destination, without a new house being prepared for me. Now, that is not how I would have done it. Absolutely no way, no how is that how I would have done things. But I also had spent the last previous years of my life also not doing things the way that I have done them. And I said, you know what? Since the way that I wanted to do things didn't work out, I'm just going to have to close my eyes and trust God the entire way. I personally like plans. I personally like to know where I'm headed. I feel like I can trust the process better when I know where the finish line is. And I don't really think that I'm alone in that. But last year, All I had was a vision, a word, a promise. God made it very clear to me that the chapter that I was in was over, but he did not disclose to me what the next chapter was. That was a very hard feeling because deep down inside, you're like, what if I am making all the wrong decisions again? Because that was my thought. What if I blindly follow something and I still don't end up in a good place? But nonetheless, I ended up leaving my hometown and driving over 1,000 miles with no address to land at, just faith. And I ended up staying with a relative for a few weeks while I was still on the internet every day searching for what is really going to be my forever home, reading through chat boards to figure out like which neighborhoods are safe and, where should I avoid? All the while still praying and still not knowing where I was actually going to end up. I was a little frustrated at that. I remember the fear. I remember the questions. And I remember asking God, like, sir, are you sure? Are you okay? Are we good? And so all he kept doing was showing me the promise, but never the next step. And I'm going to tell you this. Before I even ended up at my relative's place, I had gone to a couple of areas to visit that I thought I might live in. And in that first area that I thought I was going to live in, something happened there that let me know this is not it. This is definitely not the place for you, meaning me. And so I said, okay, well, that's not the place. We're going to cross that off the list and we're going to go to some other places. And the second place that I was also considering, I said, well, I can do this because it's kind of, again, staying in my comfort zone. Instead of what's fully and 100% going to make me happy, I was still looking for a middle ground. While I was visiting my relative and staying there, while I was looking for my permanent address, a catastrophic event happened in the area that was on the list, even though I knew it was kind of like, I really don't love it, but let me try it out. Maybe I can stay there for a year, and if I don't like it, I can move. A catastrophic event hit that area, wiped out literally everything. And I was like, oh my God, had I forced what I wanted, and had I gone with my plan, I would have ended up in a place that God never intended for me to be because I was impatient, because I didn't want to wait for clarity, because I was afraid that I didn't know what the next step would be. He made me wait for clarity because a lot of times what happens is we don't want the in-between. We don't want the stretching. We don't want the growing. We want the promise without the preparation. But what I learned in those moments is that sometimes the promise is protected in the pause. So if you are in that space right now where you're like, okay, I've done my part, I said yes, and I've let go, and I've packed my boxes metaphorically or literally, right? And now you're sitting there and you're like, okay, God, now what? I do want to give you 3 reasons why the promise that God has given you might feel delayed and why it might be best for you to continue waiting, but not waiting without doing, not waiting and complaining. A lot of times for God, it's not a no, it is a not yet. God sees and knows the bigger picture. You don't. Sometimes you're not aligned yet with the right people or the right timing or the right positioning. And if you're still depending on your own plan, then he knows that you're not ready to carry his. And that delay might be protection. They always say hindsight is 20/20. And I do see a lot of reasons why I wasn't able to move to where I am now. Everything was still being prepared in a lot of ways. Number 2, you're still holding on to something that he told you to release so that you can get what you want. And this one hit me so hard. Like I can still feel the emotions. They're almost very fresh. But when my marriage ended, I was pretty devastated. I really believed that I was doing all that I could do to be a good spouse, a good mother, a good person, a good friend. And if I'm being honest, I was praying for things that I realized after the fact that my partner simply did not want in this lifetime, that I deeply wanted in this lifetime. Our visions did not align. And no matter how much I loved or tried or hoped, we were completely unevenly yoked. And in order for God to position and prepare me, He had to undo some things, and that just had to be one of them. And I had to be okay with that. Now, this is not about your relationship. This is about the fact that we all have something that we're holding on to. Be it a person, a place, a habit, a mindset. You have something that's blocking your next. And as long as you're clinging on to what is safe, as long as you are clinging on to what is comfortable, as long as you are clinging on to something that doesn't allow you to go through the unknown, then you're not available for what's promised, so you can't have it. God told Abraham, go to a land I will show you, not go once I show you. Sometimes the clarity only comes after your obedience. The third reason, you're not ready to carry the weight of what you're praying for, because sometimes the blessings are heavy, or sometimes the things that come along with the blessing might be heavy. You might be asking for a new platform, for a new season, for visibility, for expansion, but it also comes with scrutiny and pressure and exposure. I remember when I used to pray, God, let me go viral. Let me reach the masses. Let me expand my community and my reach. Let me impact people with my content. And now that it's happening, I realized that I had to be emotionally ready for the weight that actually comes with going viral. Because when people come for you with negativity in the comments, or they question your worth, or they question your calling, and they just have a bunch of untruths to say because they don't even know you and they're judging you from a 6-second clip, you have to be secure enough not to spiral. In my past, I would not have done what I do now. Now I block, I protect my peace, I keep doing what I'm called to do, because I know that I am now not fighting for validation. I'm simply just walking in my purpose. And I now realize that there's nobody that can close the door that God has opened for me. But I was not that mature a few years ago. So what feels like a delay might actually be a design setup for you to grow your character, to grow your capacity, and to grow your spiritual stamina. So if you all know, I do this every episode. This is called the Educator Sanctuary, and we're always going to have homework. And so my homework this week is to think about a few questions. Ask yourself, one, what has God asked me to do that I'm not doing? What has God asked me to release that I'm still holding on to? What area of my life needs more strength or structure to sustain the blessing that I am asking God for? And finally, write this down to meditate on it, or just continually listen to this part right here. But it's, God, help me to trust you in the in-between. I might not see it yet, but I believe you're still working. I always talk about that song, He's Not Done With Me Yet. He's not done with me yet. There's so much more to this story. You're not done with me yet. And I have to keep that in my mind every single time that I see something that looks like it's going to operate in a different direction from where I want to go. And I say, He's not done with me yet. And He's not. He's not done with me yet. There's so much more to my story. God's not done with me yet. And I hold on to that. I might not see it, but God, I know you're working. And so if this episode has stirred something in you, Please do not keep it to yourself. I genuinely want to impact as many women as God will allow every single week. Please consider sharing this episode with at least 5 women who really need to hear this word today. Help me spread this message because I know that there is overflow for all of us. And if you have not yet, please, it only takes a few seconds. Review this podcast. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify, there's a little section all you have to do is click a star to show how much you loved it. Even if you do not write a comment, your rating means a lot. Know that you being here is a blessing for me. It makes my heart full to continue to see this show growing and being able to inspire and shape women to live better lives. Remember, you'll never, ever, ever in this life have to chase what's yours. You only just need to become the version of you that can see it, that can taste it and experience it. And part of that is trusting that the process is always unfolding for you, even when it doesn't feel good. Stay expectant because the promise is always yours. You just might be in the area of pause, but it is coming. I will see you back here next week, hopefully inside the Educator Sanctuary, but bye for now. Thank you for joining me in the Educator Sanctuary, where we create a space for women educators to reclaim their power and prioritize themselves unapologetically. If you've loved what you've heard, please do not forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this podcast with other amazing women who need to hear this message. Until next time, remember, you are capable, you are powerful, and you are absolutely worthy. You've got this. Talk soon.